questions to ask throughout a campaign with the confidence rising. I told WDF don't switch, good times are coming on even deep diving. Fan cams, reactions, watch along, still the pride of London thriving. The Eagles of South, they flying. Keep your eyes on us, we ain't hiding.
Yes, guys, welcome back to the last episode of TACT for this season, where we are covering a Crystal Palace game. So, if that's not a teaser for what's to come, then I don't know what is. But as always, I'm joined here with Mr. Statman. Dan, how is it going?
Yeah, all good. I'm glad that we're rounding off the season not in a relegation battle. I think at one point we thought that was definitely happening. And obviously, like, actually being able to talk about Oliver Glasner instead of other managers is obviously been a very welcome, very welcome thing. But yeah, I'm all good. Just been cracking on with decorating this place. Bit long, but it's got to be done. Yeah, how you doing?
Yeah, man, all good. Luckily, I haven't been decorating. But I have been excited to go back to Sellers for one more time this season.
Mm-hmm.
Can't lie to you. And there's one thing that's just it's on my mind just a little bit. Like, we are on 46 points. Very nice amount of points. Would you agree?
Yeah, very nice.
Very nice, very nice. A certain team has 48 points. Granted, they do have 2 games in hand, and they're playing one tonight or tomorrow. I can't remember.
Tomorrow. It's only Spurs City tonight.
And they've got 2 games in hand. But I do believe that I don't think that they will get anything from Chelsea, because I think Chelsea are doing quite well at the moment. And also a certain Manchester United, which is the one I'm a little bit worried about. However, I could see them losing both of those. Just how good would it be for them to give us so much smoke all season and then still finish above them with 9 months of Roy?
Well, yeah, I mean, that would be funny. I mean, if my memory serves me correctly, they finished above us, I think, 4 times since like the mid-70s. 2 of them were in the Championship. One of those times when we got promoted and they didn't. And the other 2 times were last season and the season before that. And even the season under Graham Potter where they finished 9th, I think it was, we were only when you do the maths, had we not conceded that last minute goal at home against them, we would have finished above them. So even then, like, the gap wasn't very big. But I do agree. I think Chelsea are playing quite well at the moment. But I do think United, who are they playing midweek actually? Because they've also got a midweek game, didn't they?
Yeah.
I think they could still be in a running for a European place, perhaps. But obviously that depends on whoever they play.
Yeah.
But yeah, United would definitely be the one I think they would pick up points against, I think.
But you never know, that waterfall could bring some special powers, as certain people would say. But just very briefly, how are you feeling about playing against Villa? Like, they are potentially secured top 4, depending on what happens tonight.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting. I mean, to be honest, I think even if they were playing like at their best, I think we would still give them a good run for their money. I think the way that they defend definitely would play more into a team like us kind of hands. But obviously, if they are in their flip-flops, then that'll make a huge difference, because I think for them as well, they've had a long season. They've been in Europe. They got to the semi-finals of the Conference League. They played a lot of games this season. So I think once they know that they're going to get Champions League and they can only get 4th, I think that I can't see them being that motivated for one more game.
Yeah, I agree. Let's go straight into the predicted 11. Well, that might be the last time you ever hear that transition. You never know. Anyway, so with here is the starting 11s for both teams. I'll start with our team. So in goal, I've got Dean Henderson. We have Terry Mitchell, Chris Richards, Joachim Anderson, Nathaniel Klein, Daniel Munoz. In midfield, I've got David Ozo and Adam Wharton. Up front, Eze, Mateta, and Elise. What are you thinking, mate?
Yeah, something. I mean, I think the obvious elephant in the room here is does Gay start? To be honest with you, I actually think I don't know what you think about this, but I think Richards playing on the left hand side is way better than Richards on the right hand side. I don't know why, or maybe it's just a coincidence. I don't know, but I do think Richards is better playing on that left hand side. And do you sacrifice a winning team? I don't know. Gay looks like he'll probably be off in the summer anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I would definitely like to see him play at some point in the game, whether he starts or not. I'm not too sure.
I mean, if you look at our injuries, we've still got Sam Johnstone, Rob Holding, Chet Decore, Franca. Hamada is injured and gone because he's not injured and gone. He just got sent off, didn't he? So he can't play. Will Hughes had a bit of a dodgy tackle. He was spotted in a knee brace after the game. He was walking around, but he's still in a knee brace. So you never know. They might not even risk him for the last game of the season. Mm-hmm. Also, Glasner has said that he's saving Lerma for Copa America. So I doubt that he would start. He might be on the bench, but I don't think he'd start. But I think the main thing in here is the fact that I've picked David Ozo to go in that midfield instead of someone else.
Yeah, I think that could definitely be something interesting. Actually, yeah, that is a good point because I don't know who else he would play there, to be honest.
I had a bit of an idea, but certain people would call me anti-football, and they would call me Roy Hodgson for even having a think about this. But there have been no. Oh. There have been some times where I've looked at the game and gone, "This needs Ozo in midfield," and he's put on Schlupp, and he's done something else. And call me Roy Hodgson if you must, because I'll accept that cuss. But we did this towards the end of the last game. Is that really the end of the world?
My opinion on that
is yes.
Is no. Oh wait, what was the question?
I said, is this the end of the world?
Oh yeah. I think the problem is that with those two midfielders, they need to be good on the ball and they need to be progressive passers. If I was to do that, if I wasn't to use Ozo, I would probably put Gay there instead because I think Gay's a lot better on the ball.
Yeah, but I think that after Ozo, I'd definitely put Schlupp there over a centre back.
Yeah, I think so, and I think we saw
or even Ayew sometimes.
Yeah.
Or drop Eze back.
Yeah. I was gonna say drop Eze back maybe, or maybe drop Eze back and put Schlupp where Eze is, and then they can kind of rotate sometimes.
Yeah,
perhaps. I don't know. But I mean, yeah. Ideally, we want to see Ozo get some minutes. I think
definitely. Cool. Let's go into Dan's part where he's going to talk about how we can attack. Oh, my messages are going off. About how we can attack Aston Villa.
Right. So, as I always do, let's get some stats. So, if I do this, allow. Right. So, can you see the stats?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. Right. So, first things first. As you can see, Aston Villa are about mid-table for expected goals against. Yeah. Look who's fourth.
Oh, wow.
That's crazy, isn't it? Oh God. But anyway, yeah. So, and as you can see, like they're a lot better for XG. So they're definitely a team that scores more than they concede, but they still concede goals. I'll come back to that. Now, what I did notice is that they don't concede that many shots. So we might not necessarily get loads of shots off, but when they do concede the shots, they are the worst in the league for the average quality of those shots. And as you can see, they concede shots from the closest distance of anyone else in the league. So you can kind of see the issue there. Part of this, I think, might be because they are actually terrible at defending set pieces by the looks of it. They conceded 10 corners this season, which is a joint, what's that, fifth in the league? Worse than us. So, you know, they're bad. And I think that could possibly be why, but also as well, we'll see a bit later, they do like to play a high line. And that's all that really needs to be said for in terms of the shot taking. But what kind of shots do they tend to concede? Whoops. So not really that many from a live pass. About middle for dead ball situations. So I don't think they necessarily concede a lot of corners or set pieces, but they do obviously concede quite a lot. So as a percentage, it's quite high. Take ons, everything else they're about middle of the table. So there's nothing really that stands out too much. But again, just remember they don't actually concede that many shots. It's just the quality of the shots that is an issue for them. Where do they make their tackles? So they actually rank bottom for attacking third tackles, which we'll see in a minute. They do like to kind of stand off teams until a particular point. Bottom for mid third, and then to be honest, they also rank very low for this. But bear in mind that they do. Where's their possession? Is up here. Their possession's quite high, 53%. So obviously, if you have a higher possession, generally you tend to have lower defensive stats because obviously you can't make a tackle if you've got the ball. Finally, let's just have a look at their aerial duels. So their aerial duels, where are they? They're not that great in the air. And again, I think that kind of links to their issues in set pieces. So how do they generally set up? So whilst on Sky or whoever, they might say that they set up in like a 4-2-3-1. When they actually defend in like a 4-4-2. So generally what happens, one player will move up next to Ollie Watkins, and then two players will drop here into a 4-4-2. Now 4-4-2s are decent because they do, like, generally you get a good coverage around.
Yeah, they're very fluid in their formation as well, in both attacking and defending.
Yeah, definitely. So sometimes, I mean, I think their most common defensive out of possession formation is something like this. Although what you will notice is that sometimes it kind of looks a little bit. So it's more. Let me push us back a little bit. So like if it's kind of a bit further up the pitch, like here, what you will notice is that one of the wider players normally, wait, which side is it? I think it's normally the right side. Kind of tends to like float like halfway.
Yeah, it's normally Bailey.
Yeah, it tends to like float halfway, so it's kind of like a 4-3-1-2, I guess. But that's generally what you'll kind of see when they're defending. Sometimes as well, they do sometimes do this if they are in a really low block. Sometimes what they'll do is that they'll get the defense to narrow, and the wingers will sometimes be used as like an extra fullback, and then it will look kind of like this. But this is only really when they're in a particularly low block.
A little bit
yeah.
similar to us.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah. It's set up, but yeah. But obviously we tend to have like the extra midfielder there, or do we? I know it's like a 4-5-4 one, isn't it? But
No,
yeah.
we've got an extra forward, but one less defender.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So yeah, so sometimes they can look like this, but what are their problems? Well, first of all, when they are kind of like this in this area, they play a really high line, and I think that's why their average shot concession, why the XG is so high. So obviously, if you're playing here, like if you're Mateta there, we try to play quite narrow here, so that we try and force them a bit more narrow. But if you've got someone like Adam Wharton in the middle, who's able just to pick that pass
and keep the tempo high as well.
Like, yeah, exactly. But saying like with their whole high line, if you just ping that ball over the top and say we've got 3 forwards, so let's say Adam Warren's got the ball there, you've got 3 forwards potentially running into this gap here. And obviously all it takes is for one of their players to not read that run properly, just for them to be able to run in on goal and have a shot. And to be honest with you, I don't think, my honest opinion is, I don't think Emilio Martinez is that good a goalkeeper. I think he's a good goalkeeper, but he's a bit erratic.
He's a good shot stopper, but
yeah, and I think that's something that's obviously. Well, I think he dropped a bit of a clanger against Liverpool, if I remember correctly.
he punched the ball into his own net.
Did he? I didn't actually see. I hadn't actually tuned in.
Yeah, he sort of came out to grab the ball, and he sort of grabbed the ball and tried to put it into his chest. But as he pulled it into his chest, he threw it over his shoulder into the goal.
Well, there you go. So that's what I mean. Like I feel like he's very erratic. Like he's a decent goalkeeper, but he'll just do like mad shit like that. But I mean, when you got someone like Wharton who can pick that pass, you go and let's say that even if they don't, let's say that the ball does get here, but they do kind of recover. The thing is, they're going to be watching our players so much that they're going to come so narrow here that all it then takes
is an overlap.
An overlap here to just a well-timed overlap, and then you've got 4-on-4 there, or potentially if Titan Mitchell's also made a clever run, 5-on-4 potentially. Because in that situation, I can't see their midfield catching up at that point. I think they would still be a bit behind. But also, let's say that they do manage to settle. Let's say when they do defend the wings, for some reason, I feel like they're quite happy at. Actually, I'm going to check this stat because I didn't check it. No, because I want to see how many crosses they tend to concede per game.
Well, I think it's quite a bit because of how narrow they are.
Well, see, that's what I was thinking, because when they defend, well, yeah, so look how many crosses they concede. So they concede the 5th fewest crosses, but again, that's probably because they keep the ball quite a lot. So obviously, if they keep the ball, the other team can't cross. But they concede, they're about mid-table for the amount that they concede, which to me indicates that a higher percentage of crosses are completed against them than the average team. But yeah, let's say that we're out wide, we've got the ball here. For whatever reason, they don't really tend to defend the wings with more than 2 players.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is, but that is
I think
something
it's so they
that
have more bodies in the box, no?
Yeah, probably actually. Yeah, that is probably true. But obviously, with how Nathaniel Klein's playing at the moment, he's more than happy to make that run there. Or if one of our players is in between that space already, he's happy to come and overlap now. So effectively, you've got an overload here of 3 players versus 2, and that's something that we've caused problems like last week against Wolves. And the fact that Villa won't move these players to try and help, or even get one of the forward players to try and help, that that means that we're going to be able to overload not just this wing, but I think we could do it on the other wing as well. I know Richards is obviously a bit less inclined to go forwards than
He did it
perhaps
against
Klein
Wolves,
is.
to be fair.
He did. I do think, like, generally on this side, I feel like the midfielders tend to overload. Like, I know Hughes got injured, but I feel like Hughes tends to drift into space a lot more on this side. And I feel like Richards tends to hold back a little bit. So you've still got that player making that overload, but it's just not necessarily the centre back, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So okay, cool. So we've got that. But what if, I don't know, what if they're perhaps somewhere in between? What if they're maybe about there? So there's not loads of space to run in behind, but there's also not really the potential for like Klein to run up and overlap yet, let's say. What I do think, the only problem I tend to find with defending in a 4-4-2 is that you do leave space in between the lines. So you've got one line of pressure here, the 4 defenders. You've got another line of pressure here, the 4 midfielders. But obviously, like Mateta likes to generally play on the line, but you've got 2 very good players here who are very good on the ball, who like to find these kind of spaces. And again, when you've got players like Anderson, Richards can play a good ball as well when he's facing forwards. It's a shame Hughes is probably injured, but when you've got those kind of players who can play that ball into there and they're more than happy to turn and run, I think that's going to help us a lot. So there's going to be gaps in the middle there. But what about do they press high, or they don't really? To be honest, let's say we've got the ball here, they're not going to engage us here. They might run up and face us just to like make us like think ourselves into a pass. But to be honest, they're not really. Oh, what the hell? They're not really going to try and engage us until probably about here. And even then, they're not like, the reason why I think their defensive stats are quite low again is that they're more like they just like to like run to and try and like block the passing lane behind them. They're not really like a team that actively commits to like tackles until they need to. I think a lot of this reason actually is because, and I'm sure JC will talk about this, but I think a lot of the reason why, for example, the front players are quite passive and why they are generally a passive team is because I think of just the way they attack and the way Unai Emery wants to engage attacks. I think that's why they do it. But yeah, so I wouldn't worry too much about a high press and us like losing the ball or anything like that, etc. That's not how they defend. They're more than happy to like drop back a bit and then go from here. And then finally, set pieces. Well, like I said, they've conceded 10 goals from corners this season, which is one of the worst in the league. So hopefully that's maybe where we'll get our first, technically second corner goal of the season.
No, first.
Well, technically speaking, I can't remember whose goal it was, but technically speaking, we did score from one not long ago, but I can't remember who it was. I feel like it was one where the ball, it was a short corner, and then Eze Eze took the ball and then crossed it in afterwards. Personally,
that was it. That was Anderson's goal. It was a free kick, but it was near the corner flag against Man United. It was ages ago.
no, not that one. There's been one since, and I can't remember what it was. But to me, in my honest opinion, the way they count corner
Oh
goals
no,
is
you're thinking of West Ham. Short corner, passed it around the box, and then we whipped it in, and then we scored from a header. Michael
yeah,
Olise.
I think it might have been that, and I think that technically counted as a corner goal. I don't
No
think
way.
I don't think so, but technically speaking, that's
All right.
a load of nonsense, really. But yeah, but just to summarise, they're going to leave gaps in between their lines of pressure. They have a high line, so we'll be able to exploit that in behind. We can overload them on the wings because they don't tend to commit too many defenders out wide. And don't worry, we're not worried about a high press because that's not how they defend. They're a bit more standoffish in that sense. Right, cool.
Let's go through some comments while I get my bits ready.
Right. Big up, Neil. Big up, Day. How many players do we have that aren't linked away? Well, I think the ones that aren't linked away are their contracts are expiring. So, I think quite a lot of we'll obviously we're playing very well. It's going to attract attention. My advice for people over the summer: don't believe everything you read on Twitter because a lot of it is a load of nonsense.
Yeah, my suggestion is block a few words on Twitter. That's what I normally do.
Yeah, and I think as well, and it is the age-old thing of like until they're actually standing there wearing, holding the t-shirt, they've not left or they've not arrived. So, evening animal, big up Tim. So fed up reading transfer gossip. Yeah, me too. Yeah, guys, last game of the season. Let's get the win. Actually, I was going to say earlier, if we get the win, they'll equal our best Premier League points tally, which was in the 18-19 season. So under Roy, that was. We actually finished 12th that season. Whereas obviously this season we could potentially. Oh wait.
Yeah, and the season that we first came up as well without Wilf, that we also hit 49 then again.
I've got 45 in 13-14 and 48 in 14-15. We did finish 10th in 14-15 though, which is our highest position since we come up. Well, actually no, well in the Premier League, yeah. If they lose and only draw second, we could be. Yeah, actually, that's a good point. Brighton are only 2 goal difference ahead of us. So if they were to lose at all and then draw United, actually, yeah, that's a good point. If they lose and draw and we win, because I know, but they've scored more goals than us actually. So yeah, there would need to be. We would need to be one better than them. Would be fun if they lost both, but I'm not putting much hope in Man U. Yeah, they're terrible. As I said, hopefully whoever they play in midweek, they win. So then at least they have like 7th to play for. But then in their minds, they're probably thinking maybe they should go all out in the FA Cup, and then if they win the FA Cup, then they get Europa League. So there is always that. Aston Villa have a good team. Bailey and Diaby on the wings going to be hard with their speed. Yeah, I think that'll probably be. I'm sure JC will talk about it, but yeah, they're 2 good players. I think Diaby's a bit out of form at the moment, but he's still rapid. To be fair, Dan, he plays on the right for the United States national team, and Ream is playing, but I agree he's made a lot of progress on that left side. Yeah, honestly, the left-hand side, I've been really, really impressed with him. I think he's been really good. And honestly, I can't remember how much we bought him for. Like 8-9 mil. Like that looks like an absolute steal at the moment. Rich is on the bench. I mean, that could be interesting. I mean, I think he's played so well though.
I think it's harsh to drop him,
Yeah, absolutely. This JC Richards isn't a good enough forward player to be there. He can defend brilliantly, but Milford, yeah, and I think we saw that when Roy was playing him there.
Yeah, I was playing more devil's advocate there.
Oh yeah. Big up, Rich. We need physical abilities of Ozo this week, or we'll get done. Yep, I think that's a good point. Who's going to replace Hughes this week? Is he okay to play? Well, we won't know that until Friday, I imagine.
Yeah.
Even then, he might not say. I mean, I don't think so. But do we know that Alerma won't play? I thought Glasson said he'd be back for Villa. Maybe on the bench, I'm guessing. JC.
Yeah, I would guess on the bench because I think that he's already made a promise to him that he's going to go to the Copa America, so I think they want to risk him as little as possible, really.
Yeah, and Copa America starts in like just over a month, I think it is. So obviously, if he was to get injured in the last game, that is peak.
Especially just coming back as well.
Well, yeah, exactly. If Lerma is back, we'll win. I think we'll win even with that, to be honest with you. But Durham, I'm guessing.
Great performance last night.
Yeah, great performance. Actually, he'll be going to Copa America with Lerma. I think they're both Colombian. So they'll be teammates, I believe. Chris Post linked with everything away. Everything's good. Yeah. Director of football linked away. Manager linked away.
A player we bought in January linked away.
Mateta linked to Lapoli. Oh, crazy.
You know what? Yeah, I never thought in a million years that 4 months ago we'd say we'd let Mateta go to Everton for £5 million. Now Napoli are looking at him as an Osimhen replacement. You're thinking, what on earth?
It's just ridiculous, isn't it? I never tried to predict a last week match, especially if it's possible neither have much to play for. To be fair, I think we're still in the phase of like they're still playing to impress Glasner, in my opinion. So I think in that sense, I think that's probably what will keep us going. It said, depending on what the result is, actually that's a good point. What is it at the
Still
moment?
Still 0-0 at the moment.
Wow, what a stinker.
I mean, City should have scored about 2 or 3 times. I'm sitting there watching it on my phone now.
Oh, fair. Eze and Ozo have been starved of game time by Glasner. Eze?
Ozo, yes. Eze, no.
Eze's like played basically every game, hasn't he?
I think he's played nearly... Yeah, I think he started nearly every game for him, apart from when he was injured. I mean, your opinion, isn't it?
Right. Oh, whoops, not bad.
All right, let's chat about how Villa attack and how we will defend and get a clean sheet against Aston Villa. So, for the last time, Dan, I'm going to give you some stats.
Jeez.
So, obviously, depending on what happens tonight, depends on whether they're mathematically fourth or not. If the score currently stays where it is, they are mathematically safe. Nothing's going to happen. If they lose, mathematically safe. Nothing's going to happen. They're going to get their Champions League football, and there's nothing else to play for. They can't hit third, and they can't go down to fifth. So they will have nothing to play for. So that is the definition of on the beach, if I've ever heard it. They've scored 76 goals this season, which is a lot. Like a lot of goals. They've conceded 56, which is okay. They've got 68 points, which is a lot of points. However, they've only won 2 in their last 5 games. So that's a little bit interesting. When talking about their attack, 2.1 goals scored per game, which is decent, is very decent. And then if you also put this stat into context as well, 2.6 big chances created per 90. So whenever they make a big chance, they put it away. They are extremely clinical up front. Only 1.5 missed per game, 5.1 shots on target per game, and they only have about 7 shots in total average across the season. So when they have a shot, it's very good accuracy, or it's made the keeper have to work for it at least. Another thing which I was actually quite interested in is their 9.2 dribbles per game, which is second in the Premier League, which is a lot of runners with the ball because their whole front four and even their fullbacks can pick up the ball and run forwards. Even like Douglas Luiz can do it, Telemans can do it, Kamara can do it. They've got a team full of people that are comfortable carrying the ball forwards. So that's another thing we need to be very conscious of. And lastly, they are the second most counter-attacking team in the league, with 47 registered counter-attacks.
Wow. Who's top out of interest?
Bournemouth.
Okay. Still
With
though.
48. One more. But that's all interesting. But how do they do it? So, they play very free-flowing, attacking football with a shoot-on-sight mindset. And what that means is that let's move everyone around a bit. Cool. So it will look a little bit like that. So very free-flowing attacking football. Basically, what I mean by this is wherever the ball is, someone is going to move off the ball to make space for someone else. So I'm going to show you this in an example of an image later, but this is an example. So everyone's sort of set up. Goalkeeper kicks it out to Pau Torres, who's now fit again, which is a shame because he's a very good centre-back. He'll pick up the ball and start dribbling forwards ever so slowly. Also, if you want a little, this is going to be a little bit more broken down version because we have covered Aston Villa and how they move forwards in a previous episode. So if you want a bit more in depth for how that works, go back and watch that video. But this is basically a quick rundown. He'll pick up the ball, take a few steps forwards. When they get into an area which causes a press trigger, then our players will go and try and close it down. However, as our players trigger to move, it's also a trigger for their players to move. So the second that happens, Carlos will drop, Luis will make himself available, Telemans will get himself in the space that Carlos has just left. So Carlos was here, so he'd drop back, Telemans would fill in that space, McGinn would fill in for him, Watkins would come short, and then there'll be a big sort of shift in how the team looks after one slight little press trigger. That will happen, and as a very crude and basic example, he gets away from Wharton, he'll pop it into him, the second Wharton gets near, he'll pop it over to Telemans, he'll come short, he'll pop it into Watkins, and as he does that, Bailey or Diaby will make an arcing run through the half space between the centre backs. Watkins will then lay it. As Watkins gets the ball and the runners start running, Louise will come short, pop it to Louise, he'll spin as well, and then there'll be a nice through ball over the top for multiple Villa players to attack in behind and either shoot themselves or sweat the hell out of the goal. And the thing that makes this very Unai Emery is that this whole play will all take place in about 6 or 7 seconds. So it's very calm, composed. The second that first ball is kicked to pass, the whole team goes into overdrive, and this will all happen extremely quickly. So that is probably the main thing that I'd be worried about, just the speed and the ferocity that they can go forwards and they can absolutely tear you apart if you're not switched on. We saw that when we played at their place. We got a very nice goal early on. You know, we subdued them, and then they scored. What was it, 3-1 or 2-1? I think it was 3-1, wasn't it? We lost.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 3-1. Yeah.
And basically, all three of their goals came all within about 10 minutes of each other. That's how fast they are with it. Like, we had a few close calls earlier and we got a bit lucky to get away with it, but it's just the speed in which they can move forwards is frightening for any team in the Premier League. Like, they nearly done over Liverpool just with like intensity in the game itself. You said something that I didn't quite agree with. You said that Diaby wasn't in form. He's not in goal scoring form. However,
yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, I agree. He's not in goal scoring form, but his ability to dribble with the ball and scare defenders, I think, has never been in doubt, really. Like you can see him picking up the ball and driving at someone. Like we saw Richards, for example, when Richards was playing over here and Gay was over there. You saw Richards struggle against Cunha. Cunha's got nothing on Diaby when it comes to dribbling. Let me just say that. So if he starts to have a good run at Richards or Anderson, it's going to be a long day for us because Anderson's not the fastest guy in the world, so the pace is going to get to him. We have to depend on Richards and Klein. And after what I've seen from Richards against Cunha, I hope that he's learned his lesson that you need to take him out before he gets into his stride. And that's why I think that when we defend, we need to be very aggressive, take the ball away or take the man as soon as possible before they can gather speed. Because the second they start speeding up, any little touch, they're going down and it's a yellow or a red card. They do press a little bit. Like as Dan said, they do run up and they do stand in the way, let's say. But they will always stick a leg out. So if let's say if Anderson's got the ball here, if Watkins runs here and he sees that he's going to try and pass it to Munoz, Diaby will get on his bike to try and cut it out. So they will press, but it's more of a thing of they press to intercept the ball rather than press the man, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like what with the example that I showed where the ball was popping around, it's all one touch as well. I don't know if I said that, but that whole move would all be one touch from every single person on that field, and it will be it's a beautiful thing to watch. But when you're playing against it, it's not. And Villa thrive off of playing against teams that use a mid block, against teams that use a high line, purely because they have all this space in behind to run into. And that is the first point that I'm going to make when saying how we can defend against these guys. The first thing I'm saying is that even though it's not a very Glasner way of doing things, but it's a very effective way of doing things, because even though it was Roy Hodgson, it was still quite effective in keeping them away from our goal, keeping them away from exploiting their best, I guess, tactics, let's say, of running in behind. Because we gave them no space to run in behind, basically. We sat so deep that they had to pull out different tricks, basically. So they couldn't just hit the ball over the top and run, which is something that, like, it sounds crude, but it works. If it works, who cares, really? But the first thing I'd do is definitely step a little bit deeper. Don't let them have the space in behind. If the ball gets played over the top, you want it to be within the area that our goalkeeper can get out and put hands on the ball before anyone can get their head on it. Granted, Henderson's a bit flappy when it comes to grabbing the ball with his hands, so you never know. So that's one thing we need to worry about. Like I said, you need to be aggressive when defending against the wingers. You can't let them get up to speed because, as we saw from Richards, wasn't the best thing in the world. One thing that I think that we do struggle with a little bit is if other teams use interplay, they can take out our whole midfield. I think one thing that we need to remember, we only have a 2-man midfield. So if they've got a 3-man midfield, which they do sometimes when the wingers come short and then try and stretch on the other side, they'll have an extra man in midfield. So if they start bopping the ball around quickly, they'll always have a man over us. And with how we press, we like to press. So let's say if Konsa's got the ball, we'll see Mitchell go, you'll see Eze go, you'll see Ozo go, and then you'll see Wharton come over and try and, I guess, like try and mark this area. And then if the ball gets popped out, Wharton will be straight onto it. But the reason why I think there's an issue with this, bearing in mind the style of football that they play, is that because they're always looking for space, because we want this huge overload, one verse 3, and then having a man on each side, extra, let's say. Because of that, they leave a lot of space in behind. Granted, you will see Elise come short, but he'll be in about this area, let's say. He won't be He won't be here where you'd probably need him. He'll be about here because he wants to go forward. Is the second he gets that ball, the first thing he's going to do is start moving forward. So he's going to be about here. But because they're so used to getting space, you'll see McGinn pull out wide. And then the second that they have here, the second they get one ball in there, it goes 1, 2, McGinn, loads of room, runs forward, and they can cause issues there. So we even saw it against Wolves. I think Gomez and Lamina played a 1-2 with each other, and it just took our whole midfield out. And then Semedo came storming through, and he was one-on-one. He was one-on-one with Anderson. You're thinking, how the hell's that happened? The system that Glasner plays is great. It's not flawless though, and I think that's one thing that maybe this winning streak is making some people blind of. That this formation does have its weaknesses, but we need to address our weaknesses and think, how do we we understand what our weaknesses are. How do we make it so that we don't concede all the time through that? How do we make up for it? And my suggestion would probably be, in this situation, when our two midfielders go, one of the centre back of the opposite of where the thing is. So if it's Konsa, I'd say it's Klein. I say Klein would need to step into there and Munoz come in. That's how I would plug the space, because Klein is very happy moving forwards into that midfield if he needs to, and I feel like that's probably the best way to cover the space, because you've got a lot of bodies in that area. Granted, you'll see Digne pulling out wide. I think that's fine, as if they have one guy that's pulling out wide, as long as you've got men in the area which they can make the most damage for interplay. I feel like that's really the best case scenario. Try and keep as many bodies in that centre as possible.
Yeah, and to be fair, if Konsa manages to make that pass to Digne, that's an incredible pass.
I'm not saying Konsa gets there. I'm saying Konsa dips it inside and then.
Yeah. And to be honest, in that time, we'll be able to go back into position.
Yeah. So because the thing is that is an extremely long pass. There will be enough time for Munoz to get within distance, let's say, and then Klein will probably have enough. And then because he's going to have to stop here unless he puts it in first time, he's going to stop here. Then that will give Klein to get time back in position, and then we'll sort of be in a nice enough area to then defend the cross when it comes in.
Yeah.
And the last thing is sort of, I don't know. I think that we need to be aggressive, and I say we need to be aggressive for one reason and one reason only. The more we push forwards and we're threatening going forwards, the less they're going to want to throw everyone forwards against us. Basically, if you attack is the best form of defense. And if we attack them well, they're going to be a lot more scared and a lot more hesitant to flood forwards, basically. So they will happily flood everyone forwards and then commit a foul to get everyone back. But that one time that we dispossess them and we do, I wouldn't say the same thing, but we still commit bodies forwards and make it threatening for them, they're going to think twice about doing it again. Like, oh, we nearly conceded last time. Maybe I'll stay back this time. And then over time, you'll make their team a little bit more hesitant of going forwards and maybe not complete Emery's game plan to the T as he would like it to be done. Let me show some images very quickly. All right, here we go. So,
all right, Fabrizio.
I'm going to block that guy in the summer because he's already getting on my nerves. But here is a certain Diego Carlos, I think it is. Here with the ball. Pau Torres is here. He stepped back a little bit. I think this is Concert will coming in. This is the Liverpool game that literally happened last night. So tactics still haven't changed. Obviously, Digne still holding the whip. And as you can see, he has whacked a pass in here. Very nice. So he's gone from here. He's seen a space in this area, and he thought, you know what? I'm going to put the ball in there, and one of these guys can come short and intercept it. So he plays the ball in there. Diaby walks in here, grabs the ball, cutting out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Liverpool players in one pass. So they are very good at line breaking passes. Diaby picks up the ball. He can see Elliot's body language is just all off because he's running this way. His momentum's not going to stop instantly. He can't turn to get the ball off Diaby, and Diaby does one of those nice arcing runs around there like that and gets away from him. Gone on his bike. See you later, mate. Obviously, from here you can see the issue. Runners, and a lot of space for him to run into. With his pace, he probably made the wrong decision here. He carried the ball to about here, and then he had a shot. Granted, he got very lucky because Duran made the right run. And it was sort of the same goal that Batshuayi scored against Leicester a few years ago, if you remember that, where Batshuayi sort of ran and it sort of came off his knee and flew into the net. So obviously, just committing people forwards is going to be a good thing anyway, because you just never know, and they had the luck on their side. But still, this is such a dangerous scenario to be in. With the pace that he's running, you got runners here, and even, if he really wanted to, a ball down to here for Digne to run into. So loads and loads of options when going forwards. This is what I mean by they flood forwards and they love to exploit half spaces. Even when they're running into them, they have players sometimes sitting here for a 1-2, let's say. Okay, this is another one. The ball gets played into the midfield, into Luiz. Pops it over here, one touch. He's passed the ball. He's seen some space. He runs into the space. Ball gets played back to him. And as you can see again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players taken out in 2 passes. And then you've got the floater in Bailey, let's say, who is offside by the narrowest of margins. And probably if the ball was passed on this touch, he would have been onside, because there was another player further down in the corner down here. So he probably would have been offside, but he picked up the ball, he started running, and then he, So here you can see here you can see he's offside because he took a touch here. If he didn't take the touch, he's onside. But after he took the touch, he's off. But still, what he did was he took the touch, played the ball through there. He had 1, 2, 3, and then Digne was on the bottom here. 4 runners once again off of very simple interplay.
So if Watkins is making a run there, if Leon Bailey was the floater, is Watkins the running one?
He's the trots, as they would call him.
but
I think that's probably the best way to get him, really. Just be aggressive, make them second guess themselves about putting everything forwards, and also be aware of the spaces that they're going to exploit. And because of our lack of midfield, let's say, in personnel numbers, not in quality, that our centre-backs need to step out sometimes.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
That's what I would say. Dan, do you want to do some more comments before we do score predictions?
Yeah. Where did I get to? Spiritual men Raksaki. I think to be fair, I think Raksaki was injured for I think he's only been back for last 2 games, I think, isn't he?
Yeah, he has.
Yeah. So, to be honest, I still want Jez to go on loan next season. So last night, Carlos had 0. Yeah, I saw that. It's not very often you ever see a 0.9. I don't think I've ever seen a 0.9 XG that's been scored, personally. So the fact that the only one I've ever seen was a miss.
I reckon
Pretty
Saka's one
credible.
against. I reckon Mamadou Saka's one against Newcastle a few years ago was a 9.99, and he missed that. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Cristiano Ronaldo's one against like Bolton or whatever it was. That's definitely a 0.99.
Sterling as well. He's had a few.
Sterling. Yeah, but what was the XG on the Martinez own goal? That one was elite.
Well, 0.0001.
Well, it depends, because if it wasn't a shot, then it's just 0.
Yeah.
So
Factually impossible to score, but he did. You'd never seen that.
remember that game? That one hurts. Yeah, that was a bit frustrating because we didn't actually concede until like the 78th minute or something.
Yeah, that was when we was conceding late goals for fun and when we had no fitness.
Oh yeah. For some reason, I don't think Arsenal will play Ozo. Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll see. I mean, do we reckon he'll play Schlupp? Obviously, we talked about it earlier, but I guess that would be the only real viable option. Question for you, JC. How much does that quick ball out over the top, etc., affect the risk we'll take pressing? Or is that for me?
I think that's me. How much does that quick ball out over the top? I think
Oh, right. Yeah.
if we're being aggressive, it will be very hard for us to get a handle on it, basically. If we've seen Anderson go like one-on-one with strikers before, and if the ball comes up and it bounces short, he'll basically shove the man out of the way, run in and get on it. However, because of how they're very space orientated, and when the ball goes up in the air, they play very similar to Everton, where if the ball goes up, a man will come short to help when the ball comes down, so they can be the guy who quickly passes it off. So we need to be very careful of the interplay when it comes to them. So if the ball comes down, there's going to be a Villa player standing where the ball's going, so they can hit it to the wings, or if another midfielder runs through the middle, let's say. So just the amount of time that just them being quick and Anderson being out of position when he goes one-on-one like that, it's going to make our back five go into a back four very quickly, but then it'll be a 4-on-4, so it'll be very difficult to get a handle on, especially if they do it with the pace they have. Like, granted, Munoz is fast, Mitchell's decently fast, Klein's fast, but they ain't as fast as Bailey or Diaby. Those guys are mental.
Yeah.
They're in the wrong sport. They should be sprinters.
But
And Adama Traore should play American football, but you know.
I do want to say as well, I do think Watkins is genuinely one of the best players at Hull. Like, just if you need a ball over the top and he needs to like win that ball, hold it up a little bit, he is phenomenal at doing that.
Yeah,
Such a good player.
That's one of the reasons why I wanted him from Brentford.
Mm.
But then good old Roy said that 13 million was too expensive.
Brilliant. Or actually, that's a good point. Riedewald could play.
Yeah, last game for the club.
Yeah, that is true. I forgot about him actually. That is a good point, and he has liked to play him there when needed to. So that is possible. Could be Schlupp. Interested to see who plays yet for sure. Still 0-0. Yeah, I'm going to tune into the second half when we're done. Question is, does Ozo have the passing ability? I actually think that is a very good point. I think
that's the reason why he hasn't been playing. I don't think he's got the minerals when it comes to passing the ball.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think that's why. Who was it against when he put him on at like left centre back?
Bournemouth. He got done, and then they scored.
Yeah.
I don't know why they moved Lerma into midfield when Lerma was playing just fine at centre back. But you know, I guess that was a mistake Glasner made, and he hasn't made it since. So, you know,
true. But yeah, I do think his issue is going forwards. I think he's great at like breaking up play and stuff, but I think to play that killer pass like Hughes or Wharton have been doing recently, I don't think he's got that in his locker at the moment. So
yeah, I also quite liked having two lefties in midfield. It was just a bit awkward, wasn't it?
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely. I always forget that Adam Wharton is so good with both feet that I forget that he's left-footed. Only one way to find out, but I agree. Don't think we'll see him start. Lots of runs in behind, make them run.
I mean, you'd make them run, but the second they get on the end of one of them and they're on side, then it's a long day for us.
Yeah. Right, as they got to set up his game, been sleepy. Sorry, I'm just going to go turn that off. Wait one second.
Eze's been sleepy the past few games. He's been good. He does go missing sometimes, but that's just what happens when you've got a player like Eze. Glasgow's been a bit unfair to our academy players, not even giving them a sniff. Yeah, I mean, he gave Ozo an opportunity, but it was a centre back in the wrong position. I do think that I do think that Jez will get more of a shout, but I will also say that he probably should have got a shout in the United and the West Ham game when Elise came off. But you never know. There might be some contractual obligations, or maybe he's not been impressed in training yet. Go on, mate.
Oh, yeah, I see it as a reset for them. Spiritual. Glasner is probably looking at them and they prove themselves. Yeah, and also I think there's probably also an element of Jez and Ozo will probably go on loan next season. So Ozo, I definitely think should go on loan somewhere. Jez, I can't remember how old Jez is. I think he's like 22, isn't he? So
yeah, same age as Elise.
To be honest, I think it's a shame because really, obviously we've all banged on about it, but I think he should have been on loan this season at a Championship club, and the next season he would have gotten the minutes in the Premier League. I think,
Well,
but I think because of that setback, I don't think.
Well, yeah, unfortunately, Hodgson stopped him from going to Ipswich, Southampton, and Leeds. I think it was. So, he could have been what Amari Hutchinson was because they wanted Jez before Amari.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's a shame because I think had that not happened and he had gone and had a good season at a Championship club, I think he would be playing Premier League minutes next season. But I think I don't know. But obviously, it gives Glasner the summer to look at them.
It gives him a good headache, we'll say.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, good headache. I like that, Jason. Good headache. I think all the academy players will get a look in the summer, but I can't say it'd be frustrating for some of the young players this season. They haven't seen the pitch much. Yeah, I agree. I mean, admittedly, they've also been injured, half of them as well. But yeah, I think the summer is going to be a good time for Glasner to be able to look at them properly and see how they can fit in, and obviously have a look at how they can go about it next season, whether they do go on loan or whether Glasner has a plan. I feel like Glasner's the kind of person that wouldn't keep them for the sake of keeping them. I feel like he would only keep them if he actually had like a genuine plan for them. And obviously,
Yeah.
if we're having a big summer, then that could mean that we are getting players that mean that they would probably go on loan.
Finally, on to score predictions. So, I think I threw you under the bus last week, so I'm going to go first now. Last game of the season at Sellers Park. Unless we're playing Forest, it's normally a pretty good game. Pretty high scoring game, because that was a 1-0 last year, wasn't it? Or was it 1-1? It was
1-1.
It was a dead game.
Yeah,
But
1-1.
I've got a feeling that a team on the beach versus a team that's in super hot form right now, I feel like there's going to be goals, man. So I'm going to go 4-2 to Crystal Palace.
That's exactly what I was going to go for.
Don't lie.
Do you see my reaction? Okay, fine. I won't pick that then.
Well, you can pick it. You just have to make sure with Nicky that it's okay.
I'll go 3-1 Palace then in that case.
Okay.
But I do agree there definitely will be goals.
Animal says 2-2. Put in the comments, guys, what you think it would be. Well, okay, then why would you say it would be 4-2 then, mate?
Why would I say? But yeah. I mean, I agree. It's the last game of the season. I think it does depend, obviously, on like how the result today goes. But I mean, I do think we'll win. I think we're in good form, and I think the way they defend definitely plays into our hands. So
Definitely. Mitch says, if I do manage to get a ticket, it'll be 0-0. If I don't, it'll be 6-5 win. Rachel says 1-1. Cool. Dan,
nice.
is there anything else you want to say to round up the last TACT Eagle of the year?
I was just going to say, should we talk about what we're planning on doing over the summer?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, so I think we've had a couple ideas. Obviously, nothing set in stone yet, but next week probably we're going to do just like a tactical overview of the season. So obviously, there's obviously been a big transition this season.
Yeah, transition
So
from Roy to Glasner. That's what we call it.
So tune in for some goodness. That's what I would say. Tune in for some goodness. And then we were potentially looking to do like a player profile kind of one as well, where we look at like what Glasner's obviously tactics are. I mean, we all kind of know, but obviously there'll be some positions that we'll be looking at in the summer, and obviously if there's any replacements. So we're going to do something like that. We're also we're also going to be potentially doing like a Euro one. Obviously, England are in the Euros this summer, so we'll potentially be doing something on that as well. I mean, I'll be in Brazil, but I will try and take an iPad over or something.
Yeah, so
we
and then if it's and then if like let's say I don't know England are out, then we can maybe do one for the final or
yeah,
something like that. So more like some Euros content, and then maybe if for example we'll try and make it interlinked with Transfer Weekly a little bit. Like if the rumors start to die down, which they probably won't do because of how good our form is right now. They'll probably talk about us all summer. But if it gets to that point, normally I start scouting players myself. So then maybe if I scout a few good players, then maybe me and Dan could do one and say how they would fit into our team.
Yeah.
Let's say. And also, if someone actually signs, we could actually do another one then and say, look, this is how they would fit. This is what would happen. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're TACT Eagle's not going away over the summer, so we'll still be around.
Yeah.
But next season we'll have a nice new fixture list, and hopefully we'll be in a great position to push on a little bit.
Yeah, I will be there. Dan will be there, and there will be a vlog. So do not worry, Tim. It'll be a bit of a shorter vlog because it's at home. So because there's a vlog, there won't be any fan cams. But guys, thank you very much for watching. It's been a pleasure doing this season with you, mate. And yeah, last time. Guys, like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. We ain't going anywhere, but this is the last one for the season. And as always, up the palace.
Up the palace.
Eagles. Cheese rolls.